Well, that's one game down. Let's see what we got in here. Okay. Good game, but horribly racist. What about... Ha! Definitely not this early in the channel. You know, that's actually a great contender, but I think I'm gonna go with... If you played this one, then the nostalgia should be hitting pretty hard right now. And if you haven't, you in for a treat, boy! Talk about Z-axes, Star Fox 64 is a game that has you staring at the butt cheeks of a spaceship from beginning to end. It's real easy to assume that this doesn't sound like a great concept for a game, but if you like having your expectations subverted, it's time to play this. I mean, who is the guy sitting at Nintendo's round table that raised their hand at Shigeru Miyamoto like, okay, hear me out. The main character is a fox, and his best friends are a bunch of woodland creatures. Only they fly in spaceships, and they're after a mean old monkey. Brilliant! Miyamoto must have shouted, because that's what they devised, and it ended up turning into an undeniable N64 classic. Right off the bat, this game eases you in and shows you why it's satisfying. But more importantly, Star Fox doesn't tell you what to do. Well, sort of.
Do a barrel roll!
But this is the first thing that this game does well. What feels so good about the way this game opens is that it gives your brain time to take it all in. The first level starts you off in a way that's almost relaxing. These enemies just kind of glide on screen and you're like, oh, hey guys, how's it going? And then they shoot you. So you're like,
hey, what's the big idea?
So you just start firing back. And that's kind of the theme for this entire game. You're just gliding along and then the game's like, hey, check this thing out. And all of a sudden you get better lasers and it's like, hey, look over here. And you're like, what did that do? But eventually Peppy's like,
Use bombs wisely!
and you're like, well, if it's not this button, it must be the... Yo, what is that? Oh, it's like a nuke. And then you remember that this game was made by a Japanese company almost exactly 50 years after World War II and... Yeah, let's not dig too deep into that. The second thing this game gets right is the feeling of satisfaction that playing a game should have. In Star Fox, you shoot lasers, charge beams, awkward nukes, and every time, your enemies are like... This is similar to the idea behind CGI, meaning you don't notice it when it's done well, and it's strange how often critical concepts like this are lacking in a game. It's the same feeling of satisfaction you get when you're on top of an enemy with a shotgun, or collecting gold with a well-timed attack, or gliding over a world that's yours, or nailing that perfect drift, or threading that needle, or breaking that block, or landing that smash, catching that Pokemon, or triggering slow-mo. Do I need to go on? How do so many developers overlook such core elements of the gaming experience? Are you not literally professionals that staked your literal livelihood on the ability to ship a product to a literal audience of millions in what is literally the biggest entertainment industry on earth? I may have gotten away from myself there for a minute. The point is, Star Fox is that feeling throughout the game. What some games struggle to give you at all, Star Fox hands out like candy, and somehow it never gets old. And man, remember how in that last video I was like, oh, Contra has good environments, bro. Star Fox makes that look like a joke. There's Earth, Snowpiercer, Independence Day, Lava Lamp, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Thalassophobia. Now, all of this would be good enough by itself, but another thing that makes Star Fox great is that the game lets you choose what path you take to get to mean old monkey. There's literally 25 different combinations, and different story events unfold depending on which one you take. In one level, your friend Bill shows up, and you're like, what lore does he have? And also, is that a beaver or a... squirrel? Oh, okay, he's a bulldog. And maybe you'll go one route several times because you like it, or you can't figure out how to unlock the other levels. And then one day you trigger it and Sexy Cat shows up.
Are you gonna hug all the fun?
And you're like, whoa, what's her backstory? And they just made her up. She was made up for this game. But this game's got a great cast of characters, and depending on your generation, you're gonna be like, man, the 90s were lame/cool.
Supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected. Who would ever really want to go and top that?
And if you never played these games and have any familiarity with the Super Smash Bros. Series, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that's where one of the best levels comes from! And, oh, that's who Wolf is! Holy shit, it's me, no monkey. But I guess I should actually talk about the gameplay itself, too. You know how you start certain games and you're like, oh, fuck. Well, in Star Fox, you only have to deal with, like, 6 moves.
Do a barrel roll!
Now, just for a second, picture yourself as a game developer trying to come up with a moveset for a ship that only goes forward. If you're being humble, you're probably like, shoot. Move. And so you're like, Well, this is hard. Why do you think Do a Barrel Roll is so famous? Yeah, you're right. It is just because of Peppy, but if you haven't played the game before, you probably don't know that it also deflects enemy fire. The Nintendo 64 had C buttons in the top right, so the creators were like, what if we added the joystick? Somersault. Or if you're in all-range mode, U-turn. What's all-range mode, you ask? A part of the game I haven't talked about yet. A couple bosses in this game do this thing where the whole level opens up, and you're like, man, turning sucks. Boo! And then you're like, pew, pew, pew. And after you've played this game a few times, it's pretty short. It's almost impossible not to quote along as the boss is like, my emperor, I failed you! And sometimes you gotta be a little forgiving on the logic, because when you take the secret path on the first level, the alternate boss is like, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm! Got him again! Because when you take that secret path on the first level, the alternate boss is like,
Who are you guys?
and you're like, did you have no idea what was happening this whole time? Hey guys, did we just murder someone that had nothing to do with the mission? But it's all remedied, because then you're like,
We're Star Fox.
and you're like, yeah! While his crumbled remains sink into the ocean. And you think the first level is the only one with secrets? Oh, no. Remember how I told you about 2001: A Space Odyssey? How do you think you get there? Bet you weren't thinking a series of warp tunnels minding their own business in Meteo. Yeah, it's actually called Meteo. Because it's got a lot of meteors, get it? Get 100 points in Sector Y? Go to Aquas. Why is Sector Y called Sector Y? Because it's a Y. Failed to beat the boss on Katina? Go to Sector X. You guessed it, it's an X. Beat the boss on Katina? Go to Solar. Also, the level paths are set up easy, medium, hard, and it's not inconsequential because if you beat the hard one, it unlocks an alternate Venom with a different boss battle. What? You thought that was a real mean old monkey? No! You big dummy? God! This game's got it all. I mean, I'm sorry for gushing. It's just I played this game for hours in daycare as a kid, and it's brimming with great features. There's even a multiplayer mode where, like, I had to look this up because I knew it existed as a kid, but I could never figure out how to unlock it. But if you get enough kills on a level, it awards you with a medal for that level. And if you do it for all 15 levels in the game, you unlock on-foot player versus player multiplayer mode. And just, I don't think people appreciate how cool that is. They could have been like, all right, no more game. Or, who wants some DLC? But they didn't have DLC back then. Also, side note, apparently ROMs are illegal. Emulators aren't. ROMs are.
Fuzzy ass cheese no.
Emulators aren't. So I guess that's it for me spelling out how to access these games. Watch out for viruses. And that means I'm ending the video here. Bye!